CC Lilongwe, 6 December 2025, featuring 28 of Malawi's A-list gospel artists, including Miracle Chinga, Kamuzu Barracks Gospel Singers, Lloyd Perry, Great Angels Choir, Marvelous Deeds, Ande Seko, Maggie Mangani, Norman Perry, Alex Nkalo, Debbie N, Confidence Voices, Bishop Chimwemwe Muhango, Ruth Misi, Musa Bwemba, Chris Kantunze, Carlo Kadzua, Sam Maliza, Reverend Dayton Bewe, Betha Nkoma, Rudo Chakwera, Peter Mlangeni, Martha Mituga, and many more. Charges: standard ticket 20,000 kwacha advance and 30,000 at the door. VIP 50,000 kwacha, VVIP 100,000 kwacha. Tickets available at Lloyd Perry Shop, Toto Walkers, Patanki, Kabale Filling Station, Area 18 Filling Station, Area 18 Sanamu, Best Oil, CBM Superstorm Sungwi, Area 49 Panda, Nomonde Design Shop at BICC, Toto Filling Station City Center, BICC Reception, Maula Puma Filling Station, Puma Crossroads Filling Station, Kaunda Puma, Likuni Filling Station, Pamalewezi, Toto Bunda Filling Station, and Biwi Filling Station. Doors open at exactly 10 a.m. All artists will perform live, backed by the Praise Experience Band, and the entire show will be filmed for the Praise Experience Malawi Volume 2 album. So look sharp and dress for the occasion. Remember, all roads lead to the BICC in Lilongwe on 6 December for the 2025 Praise Experience Malawi Gospel Extravaganza, powered by AIA LED, Umozi Park, TNM, and Web Tickets.
Good morning, our viewer, wherever you are. This is Luntha Television, and we bring you live coverage of deliberations tackling the taxation that is underway here at Mponela in Doha. And this is the second day and last day of the deliberations. Please be there so that you follow what's going on. I am Sam Kalimba, and currently the progress is underway. We are doing now a recap, and shortly Kongoma will be bringing us the recap of yesterday's deliberations, and enjoy the watching.
It's working.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you and we bless you for this yet another beautiful day that you have given us. After that long day yesterday, we thank God Almighty for the night that have gone by and the strength for this new day. Father, we pray that, Lord God Almighty, you be with us again this day as we'll be continuing with our discussions, learning, more especially, Lord God Almighty, bringing an awareness to each one of us so that God Almighty will be on our toes, at least to tackle issues pertaining to the economy of this nation. Be with each one of us and bless our time together. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Allow me to present a brief recap of the key highlights from day one, which is the 30th of October, regarding our national engagement on tax justice and the UN Tax Convention in Malawi, held yesterday here at Tichiko Hotel. Maybe for the sake of the colleagues who have just joined us today, yesterday we had the officials from the government, specifically Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, We also had the National Planning Commission. We had faith leaders. We had civil society organizations, including the media. And also blessed that the general public was able to participate, particularly through Luntha television. It was a live coverage, and others also joining online. Allow me to take you to the opening session. The day began with Mr. Mike Banda from Mechin as the chief moderator, and that was, he requested Reverend Ntima from Evangelical Association of Malawi to open with a word of prayer. Then Mr. Banda, or Pastor Banda, or Bishop Banda, I'm not sure the title of the title. So he welcomed participants and outlined the purpose of the engagement, which was to deepen understanding of the tax justice and the emerging UN Tax Convention, to strengthen collaboration between the Csos and the government. He also thanked NCA DCA, who happened to be the key sponsors under the NORAD program, for supporting the national efforts on taxation and the domestic resource mobilization, and emphasized that Malawi's commitment under international frameworks guide is its fiscal behavior. We also had a session on welcome remarks. So Reverend Dr. Chifungo welcomed participants on behalf of the organizers, who happened to be EM and Mechin, and appreciated the support from NCADCA for the financial and technical support. He underlined the role of faith community in translating national issues into message, touching on issues such as short operating hours, reducing taxable income activity, economic activity, overlapping taxes like city rates and ground rates, efficacy of toll gates and austerity policies, the need for embassy-based participation in negotiations, and expediting the formation of a national tax and debt justice platform for coordinated advocacy. He concluded by emphasizing that taxation must go hand in hand with prudent expenditure and accountability. So in terms of closing highlights, day one ended with consensus on the following: strengthening collaboration between Csos and the government to align Malawi's tax reforms with the UN Tax Convention, forming a national tax and debt justice platform to lead coordinated advocacy, building capacity for informed participation in global tax negotiations. It was noted that not all of us have that capacity, and we need some consistency in terms of training or taking us through that kind of capacity building. The last one was engaging faith leaders, media, and citizens to raise public awareness on tax justice. So in summary, day one set a strong foundation of shared understanding, exposing the realities of inequality, illicit financial flows, and structural tax weaknesses, while positioning Csos and government to work together toward a fairer and more inclusive tax system under the UN Tax Convention. I submit. Thank you so much.
I think there are so many things that made us angry yesterday during the presentations that were made. Najoka monta kuya kwambiri in terms of issues of management of taxes in Zambia. And yesterday it was mentioned by I think one of the presenters. We just criticize without offering any solutions. So the good gentleman who is standing next to me here is going to facilitate a process of trying to find solutions to the problems that were identified yesterday. Mbali zonse, kanda mipingo, kanda olemba nkhani, kanda mabungwe osiyanasiyana, akhalitsa akunena kuti tikhale tikumanena kamuna katine kakukhalumbira kaya kupanga ma commitments kuti the high power delegation that has gathered in this room, how do we now go forward in finding lasting solutions? So he will start with beaming the program today. After this, kena kutikhala ndi tea break. Kena kuja kumasanako before lunch, tikhale sopano ndi ma presentation from the National Planning Commission and the other presentation that will be done online. I think many for today. Chief.
Thank you so much. So my task is simple. I want to facilitate one or two issues. First, I think I just want to run through the program. Unfortunately, I didn't share it with him. I'll just mention what we are doing today. In an ideal situation, we could have finished earlier, but I think because of one presenter, we will finish a bit late. Because I think this presenter is extremely important to this process, but she has requested that her presentation comes at 3 o'clock. So you will bear with us that we will still finish a bit late. I know maybe we had other issues to do, but when Majin comes in, so when Majin comes in, we should be able to talk through with them and agree. Yes, but that's why there was that problem. She was supposed to present yesterday. So this is Evelyn Mwendo from the Tax Justice Network Africa, the ones who are coordinating everything around the UN Tax Convention globally. So they are the ones leading all the processes. Yeah, but most of the things that she said were already shared by Rachel yesterday. So maybe we'll see when Majin comes in, how do we move forward? Yes. So this morning, I think we have done the recap, and I think now I want us just to consolidate the issues, which will lead us to tea break. After tea break, we are hoping the National Planning Commission will be here, because the National Planning Commission wants them to give us a presentation on issues of tax and the Malawi 2063, where we are. But then they have a meeting with the World Bank today, breakfast meeting. So it will end at 9 o'clock, so he promised that he will travel soon after, so that by 10:30, he's here. So tea break will be at 10 up to 10:30. And we're hoping if they are here, they'll make their presentation. Yeah, so if that process goes through, then I think we'll have a plenary after the National Planning Commission, which will lead us to lunch hour. So depending on what we agree with when Majin comes in, we were also supposed to, because one of the major outcomes of this meeting is that we have more of a National Tax and Debt Justice Alliance as an outcome. And I think it is Kongoma that is supposed to help us identify how do we go about identifying an alliance. Because it was noticed again yesterday that when you look at our friends from the climate change space, they are more coordinated. They are able to convene spaces, engage, but tax justice, there is no coordination. Can we have a national board, a national CSO forum that will meet, that can host virtual meetings, that can share information, and that can also facilitate research and also engage government? So if everything goes well, then we are going to nominate people into this platform. And I think I already made a commitment yesterday. As a NCATCA, we have one of our thematic areas that looks at tax justice, and we are willing to support certain activities in 2026, in terms of capacity building, in terms of research, even in terms of engagement with government. So we are committed to support it. So based on how we agree here, if we can have a clear work plan, I think we'll be able to mobilize resources to support that plan. Yeah. So in our case, we had after lunch, which we agreed to take, we were planning to do this process so that we have this committee, and then we move. So maybe since Majin is here, I think, so let me conclude what I was saying so that we can throw it back to them. So what I wanted to do this morning is to, as we said yesterday, I think through his recap, there are so many things that he has talked about. So I wanted us to have concrete actions that we think we can take forward. So I wanted us to what came out. So there were presentation from Rachel. I talked about something, but I think the major one was from the Minister of Finance. I think there were so many other things that he talked about. The plans by government, or the gaps. As he says, people were angry yesterday. So how do we use this anger? So that is my major concern. So what is it that we're taking up moving forward? So I think I wanted us to highlight clear, actionable issues. It can be issues that are directed towards Meiji, towards NCA, towards journalists, towards faith leaders. What is it that we are doing moving forward? So that I think he captures them clearly, and maybe it can help us develop now an action point. So anyone who has any idea for which is a burning issue to him, I do not want anyone to come to say, no, there was this problem that he took. No, I think we have done that analysis. I want actions. What do we think we can do? What are you proposing? Are you proposing specific issues that you are proposing? And we include them in our plans, and we see how we can support them. It is not only NCA. There are also many people who are interested in these issues. And if we are clear on what we want to do, I'm sure someone can come in to support us, even if the resources are not enough. So this is the time. Do we have clear actions that we think we should do, that we can plan, and that we start with next year? Hands. So if you are proposing, you should say this action, I believe this, whether it's government should do this, or NCA you should do this, or Majin should do this. Yes. Yeah, so the first action is the development of the domestic resource mobilization strategy. So as we heard from the ministry yesterday, this current strategy ends in 2026. There is a new one, so that there is clear participation of CSOs, and that NCA, through its partners, should facilitate the participation of CSOs in the development of the new domestic resource mobilization strategy. So yesterday, I think we had a discussion with Dr. Wazi to say, how do we get participation? So he has already made a commitment, that when it goes back to the ministry, they will formally write us, inviting us to the discussion table, and that they will share us all the plans that they have, and that we see where we can influence and participate. So what he was saying is, I think as also NCA, we are also making the same commitment. I think we'll do as the best we can to fight. We may not have all the resources. I think whatever we can support, we will. But I believe if we have a clear plan, we can mobilize more resources from other stakeholders as well. So that's the first action point. The second one, yes.
Yeah, I think if you look at the report, but also the issues that the report is raising that so good issues that maybe perhaps we can push and say so. But I think the Mamona Gandhi, Itakala Winter design a campaign, national campaign towards some of the issues.
Okay.
Issues of how do we support the government in terms of the reform process around that and how that can benefit the country. Because normally I think what I've also observed that CSO have tried to lobby for increased budget allocation. They say can Mambuna Senasian Pomama MP hasn't been where are we getting the money? So I think perhaps the report is answering some of the questions. So if we can design a national campaign around that and then identify key areas where we can focus on engagement, high-level engagement, awareness raising in terms of how the country is losing and how a country can benefit from some of the reform. They will look at this, we need to be now understanding from that perspective. But also, in that campaign, was kind of comfort in Kenya, like, dialogues and the using of applications just for people to understand smaller notes around the report. But at the end of the day, we should be able to have targets and indicators to say, okay, on this action, this is what we want to achieve. So for me, I think what is important is can we get that report through a campaign, and that's just a campaign around that.
Okay.
Secondly, I think under maybe the tax team, we will also make a deliberate effort to have negotiators, to train negotiators on these issues, because as you rightly said, when we are going for climate change negotiations, there is always a country position paper that even CSO are able to contribute, and the position paper is not higher over. It is done collectively. CSO, even my young people are able to come up with their issues. So I think it's important that we can have an opportunity to attend such forums. We should also be able to understand how such negotiations are carried out, and issues of diplomacy. So I think it can sustain some of the interventions that are moving forward. So these are the two issues that I thought addressing.
Yes. So I think just to re-emphasize them. So this is the number 2 is on the national campaign on tax justice using the CRI report. So the task is to the task team, of course, with the broad support of the broader civil society, coming up with a clear campaign with targets on how can we support government on this, how can we advocate this. Within this campaign, we'll have dialogues, high-level dialogues, capacity building, and so many other things. Yeah, so I think that's a good one. And I think the second one is on also an action point to the task team to now train negotiators, people who can, when they are going to such meetings, I think we need to get more organized, just as the climate people do, so that we have clear position on tax. Because from the work plan of the UN, this framework, will take up to 2027. So we have the entire 2026 and 2027. I know next year, 2026 December, there will also be other negotiations. So what are we taking now? This year we might not have anything solid, like a position paper, but the next one, I think we should go there so that we're able to do research, so that's also a clear action point. So we have 3. Yes, I think there was a hand here. Yeah.
Apart from the national campaign and also engaging on the strategic plan, the next strategic plan, would be the issue of the bill, because they've also talked about drafting a taxation bill to address the old laws and stuff. Because I think one of the things is that when the masses are ignorant, they are blank, members of parliament are not accountable to anybody, and they will focus on self-interests. So I thought that the task force can also look into working alongside the Ministry of Finance, and then they can bring in sensitization, they can bring in accountability to make sure that the bill is passed and is in favor of the tax justice cause. Besides the bill, there is also the issue that was raised yesterday, which I think has come up in many fora, the PPDA. I'm not sure if they're established by an act of parliament. I think we talk about them in many circles, but that task force can also be a place where they are held accountable, or we hear their side of the story. What would make them sit on billions of kwachas or sit on procedures, contractual procedures, and delay progress? So maybe other people will fine-tune it in terms of how we can help. I don't know whether through a parliamentary committee or somehow, but the task force can take it up so that the issue of the PPDA sitting on matters can also be looked into. Thank you.
So the task bill that is coming up. So it's not just one bill. I think as we saw, there are quite a number of reforms that I think the task force should be actively participating and put pressure on government and also on members of parliament to make sure that whatever comes out is favorable. Yes, so I think on top of that, we can say maybe doing an analysis of this, making sure that the public knows that this amendment, I think it's, as I said, that's what happened in Kenya. For the Kenyans to rise up, it was CSOs who just made an analysis to say what it means we are going to pay this much more on tax. So I think that also is needed here to say if we can do quick analysis and share what is in the bill. What does it mean for an ordinary citizen? So, you know, the pressure in Kenya, it meant the whole bill was suspended. Up to now, it has not passed. You know, so we need to have some such momentum as well at country level. So I think that's one of the roles of the task team. And the last one is the PPTA. This is number 5. To say how do we hold PPTA accountable. I think concerns have been raised so many times. I remember one time, the head of state, I also heard what he said about PPTA. So I think my concern that time was if this man is complaining just like me, then are we safe as a country? Who can hold these people? Who are these people who are so difficult that even the president cannot even ask them anything? So that was a major concern. So as he says, maybe we should hear their side of the story. What is it about PPTA? Yes, so I think point taken. Yes, Noel? Oh, so I think I've jumped somewhere. So yeah, so it's
our members of parliament would like to show something that they are doing, starting maybe 2026. They would love to show us that they are doing something. So we would as well take advantage of that and loop them in on what we are doing as a network. And I also wanted to add on issues to do with utilization of tax. Maybe our task force can also take it up to monitor or track the collected tax so that we should have a better utilization. So these are the two tasks that our force can also start with. Thank you.
Unfortunately, none of them has come back. All of them are out, meaning we don't have anyone who knows these things now. So we need to start building them. So we supported them last year to attend a training in Zimbabwe. 3 MPs. We supported them as NCA. They attended a training on illicit financial flows in Zimbabwe. But unfortunately, none of them has come back. So maybe we need to identify other members of parliament. So they usually come from the Budget and Finance Committee of Parliament, because they are the ones that look at. So we had a lot of plans with these guys that we do this when we go to Parliament, but as I said, they are all out, meaning we might have to do another round of, we need to introduce this concept to Parliament and ask them to identify new members, especially the chairperson of the Budget and Finance is always in the committee. Yes. And the second issue I think that she has raised is on the issue of, can you remind me? The second issue is on, I think you raised 2 points, yes. Or monitoring, yes. Just to also add value to that, I think in other countries, they do what they call in Parliament, they present reports on tax exemptions, where Parliament gets a report on all the tax collected, and also a report on all tax exemptions. To say, because of an exemption on withholding tax, because if you see most of the hotels have withholding tax exemptions, so they don't pay this. So Parliament gets reports on how much are we losing, so that members of Parliament can make decisions. Can you withdraw this exemption? Can we withdraw? We don't get reports because our law does not mandate the MRI to produce such reports. So those are some of the things that we can also try to push. Yes. So Noel, then Dr. Nsapa.
I'm reflecting from what the presented yesterday. He mentioned about the formal and the informal sectors. And the larger percentage of taxpayers are within the informal, only that the formal ones do have that big bracket of contribution. But at the same time, we have the political and the external pressures in the country that normally influenced by either the International Monetary Fund, the big boys that are inside, that are here in Malawi, the World Bank, mwina sontaizina pamakalaso political considerations, mwina hati kweze chitipange. I remember there was a suggestion kuti anjinga zakabaza ambe kupereka because there's so much money there. So as much as we think there's so much money there, those people are striving to address that money. There I was suggesting, why can't we have once in a while, we facilitate a national engagement forum, particularly with the informal sector, imene ili kwambiri on daily small business, but they're still making money, because the tax collection processes is deemed as unfair. Normally when we talk about tax near and Rwanda, they always say no, it's unfair. And the understanding of these tax issues mostly is the elite group, which leaves a larger chunk of the majority that are in daily businesses. And that and cause chaos when government is being pushed, the big boys or World Bank could adjust certain tax levels. So probably to equate that, if we could consider having a specific forum for this group, so that they still understand issues of adjustments, they should see the relevance of them contributing, other than and promote evading tax.
So it's about how we make engagement. Is it through how can we do physical meetings with all these people? Or we can engage the leadership, or should we target radio programs where we do sensitization on taxation? So I think we need, as a tax team, I think it has to look into how best do we do this. Because I don't think I've heard a lot of programs on radio on issues of taxation. There are not many. We have talked about the mining right now, it's coming up, people are talking, but on tax, it's only MRA that does its jingles. But now to digest the tax, what is it, that does it mean? Yeah, so, yeah, Dr. Ansapa.
Thank you very much. I would like to build on the presentation that we need to engage the informal sector and even the local people. And I think that can happen if we are able to simplify the language, because it requires a lot of expertise, a lot of jargon, and maybe if we are engaging the local people, even our members of parliament, it will require that we simplify. So if we have a policy brief that is available, it's simple and available in the local languages, I think it can help in moving ahead. The other thing, I'm not sure if it was mentioned already, because I missed a session yesterday, but there is this domestic resource mobilization strategy, which was launched by the ministry. I think we might need to look at it, review it, and maybe, because it's supposed to, I think it's 2021 to 2026. So maybe we might need to do a review, an independent review by Csos on how this has been implemented, especially from the tax justice perspective, and come up with our position on it. Thirdly, I'm looking at the networking, because if we are to influence the UN Tax Convention debate, we need to network locally but also internationally. So I think this is where the Tax Justice Network Africa comes in, but we also need to see how we can get into the organs, the political organs like the African Union, the Regional Economic Communities, SADC, ECOWAS, but also other economic communities, so that the language is the same. And even cross-sectoral discussion, because this language about tax justice may be a language for economists
okay? But we need to see how people in education, like myself, people in health, people in climate change and others, I know there is already a representation from various sectors, but it shouldn't just be individuals. Like Limbani Sapato is aware of what's happening, but the membership within those networks, because people will be attending different meetings. So if we can use those platforms to spread the word and do our advocacy, I think it will be critical. So I was just looking at these areas. Maybe one last thing is, normally as a civil society, we like to be critical, identify issues, and advocate, but we should be more of providing solutions. What are the solutions that we are offering? Because the criticism people have been hearing, but what are the solutions? And we need to be part of the solutions rather than always just identifying the problem and be part of the problem. Thank you.
Number one is on the language of these issues, that we need to simplify the language, because there are so many documents that are there, but for the understanding of the local man, even the MPs, we need to simplify. So I think the committee, the forum that is going to be formed, and also Meiji, that's a major responsibility to try to collect. He talks about the strategy, yes. It was talked about yesterday by the ministry, and I think we are planning on how we can support. The networking, very important. For us, I think that's what we also raised yesterday, that I think we have really been limited at national level here, but at regional level, we have been part of the TJNA network. So the Tax Justice Network Africa has been facilitating capacity building, virtual capacity building sessions since January 2025. So they have held more than maybe 8 sessions, updating all CSOs across, and I remember in one meeting there were about 226 civil society organizations from Europe, South America, North America, Asia, Africa. Yeah, but I think what we noticed at that time, as I said yesterday, is that there was no Malawi institution at that time. So our representation, maybe it's because we were not aware, and I think that's why we as NCA said, no, let's start this discussion here. So that next year, I think when we form a forum, I think we can be able to share updates. So there's been quite a lot, and even in Nairobi next week, all CSOs that are going there are going to meet with the Tax Justice Network Africa, and they'll discuss first what will be the African position. What should we as CSOs say when we go to the UN? So we have got the global network on tax justice, the Tax Justice Network Africa, that are already facilitating international level discussions. And I think they were, through these networks, they participated at the SADC People's Summit. They were at the Finance for Development Conference in Spain. They were also at the African Union. So I think there is a lot of CSO voice, but the Malawi component is what we have been worried about, to say why are we not being visible. And I think we hope that after this, we should be able to regularly meet, whether virtually when we don't have, and also physically when we have the resources, so that we are able to continue the debate and move it forward. Yes. And I think the last one was on, there were 3, on providing solutions, yes. I think Dr. Jamali, I quoted him, he said, we are a lamentation space. We keep lamenting. And we don't say, okay, so this is a problem, so what should we do? So government is always asking us, what should we do? And unfortunately, we don't provide the solution. So I think we need to invest. Unfortunately, I think the funding space is shrinking. But one of the ways was to invest in research, so that we do our own studies, collect the data, and engage government with data. But if you see, most of us, when we write proposals, donors don't want to fund studies. it's very difficult for a donor to fund a study. And with the funding challenge we have, I think it will be more promoted. But I think we should find ways on how we can collect information and also maybe learn from other countries. So I think for us, for last year we had a training of faith leaders. I think he was there. You came. We invited Tax Justice Network Africa here. They came and they conducted a 2-day training for faith leaders in Malawi on these issues. So I think we have the resources that we can always invite. As long as we are organized, we don't have a problem with that. Yes, Cecilia.
To the Ministry of Finance, the recommendation based on the presentation would be recommending the ministry for the active participation in the UN processes. So at least the ministry should maintain consistent participation and even reporting on the convention processes to safeguard Malawi's interest, just like the others. And on the same, like the tax and the digital economic fair, that accelerate the development of domestic legal frameworks for digital taxation, the e-commerce, and online payments, and data-driven advertisements, just like yesterday. So finally, investing in the tax administration capacity, like with the MRA, in terms of data analytics, cross-border information exchange, and vis-a-vis the audit of digital platforms to enhance compliance and reduce tax evasion.
Unena kuti kufika 2026, whilst we wait for 2026, I feel something still has to be happening. Pakativa, pajatimati ukamadikira dzungulizi zero makha kuja mphonda mbalina. So for us not to lose the steam, perhaps some little things also can be happening. Kuti muna poza 2026 boom. But now also he mentioned on the issue of advocacy. I would also propose kuti anthu amene angakhale mu committee or muna the frontiers or our front faces of the committee. Akhale anthu amene angakhale ndi I think credibility one. Komanso akhale kuti nkhope zawo I think muna new faces. I remember last time when the Reverend Father David spoke about nkhani ya magetsi angovuta kumalawi kuno akulalikira mmawa inatentha kwambiri Malawi yonse because this is a new voice, is a new face, is a man of credibility, for example, right? We know within ourselves, maybe not directly in this organization, in this room, but outside the organizations, members of the CSO, who sometimes acting at members of the CSO, but maybe also majia manyandali, all right? Panopa yambakale kuyamikira boma hii tikwazi wakati committee hii katentha, you see them also kukhala kutsogolo speaking now. So now if we happen to front them, it means nthawi ya kuti mungatupanga advocate muna tukuwape mpha boma ndi zina sangatenge serious because they will think ndi anthu omwe aja chifukwa nkhani za taxi muzoyo zimapinja boma aja chifukwa muna nthawi zina wapanga divert tax ija kuti ziyakomere mbali nangati yandale, right? So we need to bring a balance. Ndekuti anthu amene akena kukhala kutsogolo kwathuko akhale anthu kuti at least ndolemerera, right? Yeah, sure.
Okay,
on this one, yeah, it's a very important point that he raised. And if you look in this room, they are not here. It's not by choice, but deliberate. I know them, we know them. That's why they are not here. Yeah, so even in the selection of the participation to this forum, I had that in mind because I know. That's why they are not here. And they made it possible to push themselves in here, but we said no. I can even show you messages. Why are we not there? Why did you not invite us? Yeah,
Thank you. So thank you. Yeah, so I think I will just emphasize what Cecilia says. I think it's actually something that we also did this year. Before this meeting, we had a meeting with the Minister of Finance, and we were asking him why Malawi is not participating at the UN Tax Convention. And that's where we met Dr. Komeka. So I think he referred us to Dr. Komeka, and exactly what he said yesterday is that he was nominated, but he was not supported. And one thing is that he recommended, Dr. Komeka, was that as the CSO, can you write a letter on why our participation at this convention is critical. And we did write the letter with a meeting. We submitted to the minister. Of course, we did not get a response because it was very close to the elections. But I think it's something that we'll continue. We'll start with maybe now. Already engage the ministry. I think we're discussing with Mike. That will be one of the key actions of the task team, to immediately engage the Minister of Finance and share these issues with him, and emphasize on why our participation at the UN is very critical. And also reporting back to us on what is happening there will be very critical. So that will be the first action point. And I think you also talked about, I think most of your actions were going towards the ministry. Yeah. So I think he also talked about some of those issues. Yeah, so I think the issue of the digital economy and also capacity of MRI, the tax administration. Yes, I think we'll look at that. One of the issues that we have had as a challenge with this forum, we started last year. When we invite MRI to our meetings, they don't come. We have had challenges with MRI. And we are planning to drive to Luntha to physically meet the big man and talk to him about all these concerns. Because when we invite them to meetings, they rarely show up. So I don't know whether they are so scared of questions and what. Yeah, but one of the things that also that the team is going to do is to maybe select a delegation and meet the MRA team right in their offices in Luntha, just to share some of these issues. That will be one of the effort. And I think, yes, so Mike has already commented on this issue. I think one of the, so I think you saw the approach we took yesterday. The first part was what we call the theological reflection. So the face of tax justice is faith leaders. It's deliberate. Yes, so in last year, we were using, the face was Bishop Martin Ntumbu. Yes, he's the one who had a lot of voice. So we are trying now to train more of them so that we have bigger voices. So these are the CSOs, but the faith community is very key because it brings in a moral aspect to issues of taxation. So I think your concerns have been already considered. And I think we'll make sure that, yes, and again, we've talked about maybe as we wait for next year. So Mike shared yesterday that the same team is the one that is going to meet IMF next week, the same team. So the same team before December, they're going to meet MRA. The same team is going to meet the Minister of Finance, the new Minister of Finance. So there's already a lot of activities happening even before 2026. Yeah, so I think we'll make sure that we are not quiet, but we are active. So of course, for me, I think I'm placing a responsibility here that Megin, from our end, leads this process. So if we see quietness, let's point at them. If we are quiet, because Megin, that's why the Megin was established, to advocate for tax justice. So if Megin is quiet, then let's question Megin too. Why are you quiet? You see? So we are giving a responsibility that Megin should be convening these meetings Magin should be, but of course with the support of the team. But Magin bears primary responsibility to convene these meetings from today moving forward, sharing information, because I know you are in platforms that most of us are not. So whenever you get information, please share with everyone. Yes. Father Team. You can speak. I think there is no. You want this?
On the point being raised, which Sam has raised and Mike has echoed on, it's true. Advocacy in this regard is very important, and we have tried as faith leaders, and using media, as Mai has said, is a good way to keep the duty holders to the direction where there is a problem. My belief is at times people who are around the people who make decisions don't tell them the truth, and as such they tend to see a direction that is not really the proper one because people don't tell them the truth. Is it risky? It is. I have tested it and I know what it feels like. I know you know what I mean, and it was very difficult. At some moment, the example he has given on the electricity and the blackouts at that moment, I less expected that that clip was going to go that viral until when it went around and it came back to me. It was never my intention to go that way, but it went that way, and it had to bring some consequences to me personally as a person. And the recent popular dashboard issue as well brought consequences. What do I want to appeal is that we go together as a joint effort. We are not pushing personal agendas, but the good of the country. And when we speak together, and we're speaking one voice, which was said there yesterday by the one from the Ministry of Finance, that we are speaking one voice, then we are going to move the country to a better direction, and the attack is not pointed to one person. It was unfortunate when I would see my name and pictures and associated to some political party, and I certainly am not associated to any political party, but the good of the country. And so my plea is, as we engage faith leaders, but we join together efforts, and when such engagements are in, it's beautiful when we are invited to come to learn and get to know the information on ground, and then we can move together for the best of our country. Thank you.
But if there's anything else, I think we'll have, as we close, we'll also give a chance to any additions. But I think there is an issue about time, that the presentation TGNA coming at 3 will be a bit late. Yes, so I think that's what, to say if it's virtual, can people join virtually? That's how that's a picture I got. So the feeling is that from 3 o'clock, I think we'll have nothing else to do here. Yes, because from the program after the National Planning Commission, we might have to elect the tax team. Yes, so that means we have concluded the agenda, and we'll be waiting for TGNA, and they'll do that at 3 o'clock. Is that realistic? So maybe it's a question that we should agree on. Or we can cut. Yes. All right. Yes. Okay, so I think it's time for tea. So he says they have to engage TJNA, and they'll come back to us maybe before lunch hour and see if we can end the meeting early. Yeah, so, but before we close, we'll also come back to the plenary so that we conclude on all the issues. Yes. Yeah, so over to you, Mark, if there's anything.
A big hand for taking us through this process. Quite comprehensive issues coming up, so challenging, and you crucified me immediately. But I take that as a challenge and also an opportunity as we are finalizing the 2026 work plan. Already I have this as activity. So I believe when I submit to you as my my work plan, I will not have issues because you know where they are coming from. So these are already my activities for 2026. I will just have to formulate them in a way that makes sense, aligning them to the thematic areas that we are chasing as a program. But all the same, this is really quite comprehensive. I don't want to start commenting on them now. Yeah, but there are really already some pointers leading to almost each one of them, and also some already background work that at least we have done. That will not start from a scratch. We will be just picking it from somewhere and then moving towards that direction. So this is very commendable, and I hope and believe that at the end of it all, we'll also go around a summary of what has been done, and where possible, make some adjustments or adding to whatever will come out, especially after the presentation from the National Planning Commission, which we also hope will unearth a lot of issues in terms of how are we progressing in as far as our national agenda, implementation of the national agenda is concerned. So I think at that level, we'll be engaged in plenary with them and also isolate some issues that we could add to this very list. Otherwise, we can break for tea now and come back in the next 15-20 minutes. By then, I think the National Planning Commission will be in, because they had indicated that they'll be here by 10. They were engaging with the World Bank, IMF this morning, so they should be here by 10. That's the indication they gave. Otherwise, let's break for tea for now. Thank you.
Olivia school fees kwa kuhega tobano. Listen to fees by Airdo Money. Muta Olivia school fees mosavuda kutera bafoni yanu. Tadilani ndondomeko zo tadirazi.
What is the impact of failure by the system to collect enough revenue on the implementation of the MYD1 and MALAWI 2063 as an overarching agenda. So welcome, and you can come to the podium and take us through your presentation. Thank you so much.
First of all, I would like to apologize to all of you for holding you hours on end. I think today, as you might know, is quite a very light day for government. The President, as you have seen in the pictures, is already in Parliament, but there were also some other preliminary engagements with some other key stakeholders in the development space that are supporting Malawi, and so I couldn't make it in time. I could have obliged to send someone to do the presentation, but I think there was an insistence from the team that I still tried to make it. Initially, I had thought we were making it yesterday, so With the change, there were some other glitches in the system. So please accept my apologies from myself and the National Planning Commission. So I was requested to make a presentation on the progress of implementation for the Malawi Implementation 1. So that's the outline of the presentation. I will talk about Malawi's vision and its aspirations, and I will also highlight a few issues to do with the vision pillars and the enablers, and then we zero down to the operationalizing plan, and then the hub of our presentation, which is the discussion about progress, and we talk about the key challenges and solutions that we feel need to be put in place to support implementation. Now, as you might recall, our vision is please go back. What is our vision as a country? So I'm talking to civil society, I'm thinking. Yes. Am I right? Okay. Really 80%. You're right. Any other who want to try? Just reciting the vision. Yes. Reliance. All right. So there's another hand. Yes, please. So 100%. Oh, come on. You know I can't read that. Yeah. So thanks so much for picking. It's not around, but we can. So Malawi's vision post 2063 is that we should become wealthy. So don't we will still restrict you. You are taking a.
Or you can hold this.
I can hold that. Eh? It's alive. Yes. Oh my word. You remind me of my teaching days. I started jumping up and down. Okay, so our vision as a country is to become an inclusively wealthy and self-reliant nation. So there are two key things that we are pushing: wealth and what? Now, since I'm talking to private sector, please no more conversation about poverty reduction. Do we get each other right there? Malawi moved away from talking about what? Poverty reduction. You will see some of the documents in the spaces in the ministries that are still talking about poverty. It takes a lot to change the what? And that's why enabler number one for the vision is called what? Mindset change. So it takes a lot. And you've heard that government is a system, isn't it? So to change a system, it's like you're putting the whole big train that was running at high speed to a complete halt at once. It's not possible, isn't it? That's why you hear the brakes and the wheels screeching, because they are complaining that we can't stop. So you face those kind of things even in the development space. But the key issue that I'm trying to highlight is our conversation shifted from 2021 to talking about poverty to now begin to talk about what? Wealth. Why? Why? Because when we talk about wealth, it means we have done away with what? Poverty. But if we talk about poverty, it means our inclinations will only be dealing with what? Poverty. So we need to move beyond thinking about poverty to now coming above poverty where we can talk about wealth. That's the whole idea of that kind of a shift. Now, he looked at me and then he looked down, and I know what you mean. You're saying, you guys are just big dreamers. You see where we are? 5 years on, can we talk about wealth in this country when there's fuel shortages? When there's food insecurity and so on and so forth? Remember, we are still in our teething stages of our vision. How old is our vision? How long is the vision for? Yeah, but how long is the period for the vision? 43 years. So by the time we hit 2063, I'll be 88. I could be the last man standing by that time. I pray. So what that entails is this vision is not only for us, but primarily is for your child and perhaps maybe your grandchild now. Now, what is your job? Your job is to put down firm foundations so that these guys can just run through that like a train in the tracks. Now, whatever mistakes we are making today are going to be costly to our children and our children's children. I'll give you one practical example about that. You have noted that for the past 2 weeks, it's been so hot. By the way, do we have Malawians only, or we have Malawians plus other nationalities in here? We are all Malawians. So I can play around with Chichewa as well. You see, the problem that The problem imagine now Malawi ndokuti we try to force ourselves speak well someone's language, and that's not self-reliance. It must begin with our own conversation. Ziambire pamene tikutani kodi tikupanga converse. Naona ina kama hapa amaseka video ina yake kuti parliamentary ina yake kama amalankhula parliament ndi amakanika kupanga pronounce word ina yake chizungu. Why should that be a laughing case? I mean, if I don't know how to speak Tumbuka, why should you blame me? It's just a language, isn't it? So self-reliance must begin from the emancipation of the what? Of the mind. It's just a language. So there's no need for us to disease bus pressure. I know because we are talking about interfacing with so many players in the development space, including development partners, multinational corporations, and the like. We need to speak this other language. But the point I'm driving at is, I hope you are getting me right on that one. So, chimene ndikufuna nthandizo chonena kuti tikamakhala tizidziona kuti masomphenya awawa ndi a dziko lathu, koma amene adazapange actualize ndingati ulendo wa ana Israeli ndi angati amene anakalowa ku dziko la lonjezano ochokera ku Egypt. 2 guys, isn't it? The rest actually said chifukwa cha kusamva kwanu ndikulolani kuti muthere mutimo. Did he kill them? Some of course he killed them, but some died out of old age. So point is, awawa amene amapita sana siye lonjezano lawo lonena kuti tikupita ku dziko la chanu kodi la Canaan. It's the same thing with us. We need to plant and inculcate the thinking and the practice that we are moving towards 2063, towards wealth and self-reliance. And it begins with us. I just wanted to highlight that point. And I'm happy that some of you can recite the vision for this country. There are others who can't even mention any word about it. And I'm asking myself, it begins, and for civil society, this is quite crucial. Why? Inuyonde the watchdog of what we 2063. Those are the questions we should be asking. And then not only being lamenting about it, like my friend Limban. No, I'm joking. All right? But not only be lamenting, but also offer what? Solutions. Find innovative ways of making someone to what? Listen. Because in the final analysis, whatever is going to happen in parliament today is going to affect your pocket. Ndikunama? Mukangotuluka pano sipano tija zakuja za kunogwet, koma tikangotuluka hapo tija so za kunongati. Aliyesa kuendera budget ya ndani. That's why we must hold everyone what? Accountable. Including the National Planning Commission. Talk to it and say, so this is how the presentation is going to be like. Let's go to the next slide. So this is the resolution that we made in 2020. We said we want, as Malawians, we desire and resolve to be an inclusively wealthy and self-reliant, industrialized, upper middle income economy. Now the question is, are we taking the steps towards that upper middle income economy? Yes, we are. Are they good steps? No. We are staggering. And that is the issue for us to say, why should we stagger? Is it the governance space that is that problem? Don't know what it is bank address. Is it something to do with maybe our own technical, pivoting towards what development is? Chifa, as we speak now, NMI if it's nafike in the name of Kubeon take. Whether Masompenya meno azateka ine kulibe or not, kwa Masompenya azatan good, as long as Jesus doesn't come today, I'm a Christian, or this world doesn't end today. Either way, if you are not Christian or whatever, we believe is that happen about. Yeah. All right? So we want to become an industrialized upper middle income economy. And what does that mean in economic terms? Tukufuna GDP yatu izafika mpaka GDP per capita izafika mpaka $12,000 $44,000. Meaning to say, tikatenga chuma cha dziko linocho, nkuchigawa aliyese kumika mtumba mwake, muziza pezeko tumwadusa $44,000 bwanji kodi? $44,000. That's what we mean. And what that entails is economy yatu ikweneka yuvange produce that everyone should be able to have what? Some cash. Zingatege, ndizotega. Zatega mayazi, tilikutali. Tidakali kutali. But we are taking steps in the right what? Direction. In a point I want to stress is, it requires heavy accountability. And I'm happy the likes of Limban have said about the free primary education the issue about the implications of what this entails. Tipange build capital yamphamvu yaziphunzitsa athu ana athu so donse apanga supply ma technical support the quality of education should not be compromised, because once we compromise that, our human capital is compromised, and so is our level of competitiveness in the global macroeconomic space. And sorry, a bit of challenge. Next slide, please. Now, what are our pillars? I'm testing this to see whether we know our vision. So pillar number 1 is what? Civil society. The ones who say government is not doing right. Pillar number 1. Thank you. It's because this guy is always with me. Pillar number 2. Mining. Okay. So that's pillar number 2. Industrialization, including what? Mining. Pillar number 3. You would encourage it. Pillar number 3, Ndijan. So you see the way we are doing here, City Kuyankanet, that's what happens in a development space. Others are passive listeners, others are passive actors. In so doing, can we run the runny? Can we do that? Very unlikely you are going to do it. Am I right about it? You speak what you are going to do. So the question is, if we cannot speak our vision, at what point are we going to act our vision? So we're saying the first pillar is agriculture productivity and what? Commercialization. We want our agriculture to be optimally functioning. For the past 3 years, if not 4 years, our agriculture has been operating suboptimally. And the civil society has been mentioning subsidy, mechanization. What we want is to say, how best can that be done? Apart from describing our problems, let us also describe and prescribe the solutions, and make sure those that should make sure they run those solutions are doing the what? They run. You know there is Access to Information Act. How many of you have chanced on that act to get information from government and take it to account? So we rush one person. So we rush at putting about laws, but to operationalize those laws and benefit from those laws, we are not doing it. It's very tough, and that is the starting point of engagement. When the procedure is tough, have we put that open to those that should make it simple? Have we engaged in the conversation? In other words, have we understood why the procedure is tough? How best can we make the procedure simpler, that we can use that information to help us make right decisions and support government? So, urbanization. I mean, talk about urbanization. You know the state of urban, social amenity, social services in this country. You'll be shocked. Look at the status of our market spaces. Misigayatu. Ma bencha jama zota gala mabonda mamenja usiku. Maziwa zimenezo. Inena goma ndikuona gala uponda mabencha amene. What are we doing about it? As civil society, that's a project. Someone said, Miles Monroe said, every problem is a project. Every project is money. So all I'm saying is, beyond observations, beyond the lamentations, let us come up with appropriate solutions. And when we come up with engage. And engagement should not stop, it should be what? Continuous. So these are our pillars. Our pillars and enablers. Enabler number 1 is what, guys? Mindset change. It has to start with our mindset. If the mindset is not correctly pivoted for action, then forget about something happening on the space. This workshop would not have taken place if there was a mindset to believe this was going to happen. So, aliyense akalini nthawi yozifufuza onena kuti kodi mu masomphenya awawa, what is my stake? Osati stake yona kuti ine ndikupita kukatengamo chinthu koma chimene ndikuyikamo kuti zinthu zozitani kodi zitheke. Kati tonseka investment, you are contributing to that vision. You're creating jobs, you're making wealth, and that's how we should go about it. So everyone should be involved in this process. Effective governance systems and institutions. That speaks to Maofesa Aboma. Are they effective in the way they are doing their business? Can we attest to that? Who is holding them to account? Whose head has to be put on the table to say, what is Ukaraband? I know there are all those noises, all those kind of things. But there's a proper way of engagement. Implications. So as Malawians, tichoke pa stage, yomalirira ku kitchen, kapena kuseri kwa chipindo. Let us go and say, koma bana, abapati maganiza zote. PS, as a civil society, you as the PS for whatever, can we have a conversation? Do you think those guys will not come? By the way, Samvan Gugu, amaza kumana nazo kutsogolo. Chisankho ijiji chatiphunzitsa zambiri. Si choncho? I remember one of the colleagues in the space said, had we followed Malawi 2063 to the book, we would not have been where we are. What is Malawi 2063? It's nothing to do with a political party. It's just what Malawians want. So whether we are doing manifestos and the like, it's about what Malawians want. And if we do that, then kale tinandi president amene anali wachani kodi wamu ndikucheza ndiana I'm 50 here tinali nda president amene tinapasa kuti akhale achani kodi amuyaya. There was a reason for that. So we can also make you amuyaya if you want to deliver on what we want. That's the whole point. And the civil society is key in that respect. Next slide, please. I will not go into all these things. You know them already, or you can read them. So let's go to how we are operationalizing our vision. The document that we are using is called what? Malawi Phase 10 Implementation Plan 1. It's not, it's this one. Malawi 10, how many do we have this document? How many in the MIP 1? Do we know what MIP 1 is? We do? We are not doing a Malawi growth and development strategy and Hamurungu. We moved away from that. You are alone in that document. Now we are doing Malawi Implementation Plan 1, running from which years? 20 to 2030, 10 years. Tikafika so 2030, kumachoka ku 31, kumapita ku 40, tikalaso ndichani kodi ina yachiwiri. Ndi zinthu zake zimene kusiyangana. So this is our operationalizing document for our vision, first phase, the first 10 years. So golo kuno tikhala ndi ya 10 year ina, then 10 year ina mpaka na kumapeto kumene zakhale mina ndi ya 3 years tikamaza titi kumaliza Mulungu akalola. All right? So that's our document, and we are pursuing 2 key milestones. By 2030, we wanted to graduate our economy so that it goes into the league of low middle income countries. By the way, we are surrounded by countries that are almost going there. Mozambique is pushing so hard. Looks like it's almost getting there. I haven't checked, but Mozambique, and look at Mozambique. But they are still making what? Progress. Go to Ethiopia, my brothers. They are fighting there. Koma chitukukosa chikutani kodi? Chikuteka. Kodi ifeyo tinatani? Iyai. Ai. Nkhondo simanga chani kodi? So ife tifuna timange mudzi. Ai. Musanene pano kuti kwa iwo ife ndamalawi zawo zimenezo ife tikupanga zathu zawo fulu kuti tikafike kutose tilipo titose pamene bwe. So that's the first goal. What do we mean? We are saying aliyense chaka chikamatha ndalama zolowa mthumba mwake nkutuluka zizikhala zitizo at least $1,000 zizikhala tinalowa nkutuluka out of the 20+ million people that we have. But that speaks a lot on what we should do. It means our economy must be highly what? Productive. Misikati nayo mbili koma tukanika kuipanga chani kodi achieve chifukwa chani. We need to tease out those issues, and it's the issue of engaging, having honest and candid conversations about how we want to proceed with this country. And then I'm sure patangopezeka anthu awiri atatu amene ali ndi chidwi pajankhani ndi achani kodi mindset. I'm not saying kuti libe chidwi, we have, but I think we need to be decisive about these goals. Next, we are not operating in isolation with the global world, so we want to meet most of the sustainable development goals. As we speak, goal number 1 and 2 are already collapsing. And of course, these are sensitive goals because you can be, there's goal number 1 is no poverty, isn't it? Yajibiri kusakale jani njala. Sijonje. Zonsezi zati kunthakale. Right? So, how are we moving to that? The president has taken a decisive move, to offset hunger, but it is not enough. There's a lot that needs to be what? To be done structurally and economically. There's a lot that needs to be done. And you guys in the civil society, muma kandi information and you are able to analyze and produce papers. That's what we want. Sindichula zikolo koma ziko lina lake kutapanga njala wachikulire wanziko mu anaita na civil society aliyimindanda nakula kuti ati tithandizane futo tipange chani lero sindipitiza kumene tapite kumwina munditenga ujo koma nkhani noti the conversation across all actors in the development space is key. The question is, what kind of conversation are we having in the development space? Is it ma conversation ongoloza nazala, ma conversation yoti yakulephera, ma conversation yoti tipange proceed forward? Those are the questions that we should address. Tikamalemba ma critique. Tikulemba ma critique to add value to the issues at stake, or we're just critiquing for the sake of making noise about it. And I'm going to create an industry in that. And that's not going to lead us to 2063. Okay? Next slide, my sister. So, how are we implementing MIP1? We have got the pillar and enabler coordinating groups. Munazi verbs, when is it? Okay, so these are structures that have been created. Each pillar ilinima gulake. Ma CSOs, you are also split across the what? The pillars. Oh. Okay. The CSOs are split across the pillars. How many of you are in the pillar of agriculture? CSOs. How many mukupanga programs anu mu agriculture? What about health? Munonda economy ukawakait? Attacks zo kandalama. Kusatira makobiri basi. Mindset change. Who is here? Okay. Effective governance. Okay. Issues to do with governance. Perfect. Energy and infrastructure. Oh, not here. Okay. So you can see the gaps that are there. We do not have civil society representative in Majani Mwina. Mapilas Mwina. That's a job. Every gap is a problem. Every problem is a what? Is a project. Every project is. Thank you. Thank you. So we are not reaching out. Ametiru environment. No. Him only. And 2. Fair enough. Ametiru kupanga za private sector dynamism. Oh, ametiru kupanga engage the private sector. Don't leave private sector alone. You can see my prophet amenajitika chakacha touch. Maziona manyuzi mwet. Chakuti produce 900, 600 out chan. Kuma chifoti tikutani kodi. Tikusinza. Tikusinza. Nkandi ono how can we plunge this money back into the economy? Then kuti zizingokhala majani mo. Akumachita tikuita ne bwana muzatenge ngongole bwere kodi ngongole ni njira yokayo panga support chitukuko. No. So in your civil society, engage with these guys. And you know what? Apart from Malonzi, there are these other options that you can do. Philanthropy. Anyway, they are listed in the continental charters. How are we engaging those guys to facilitate development? Scaling up my interventions in Agamene, they are promising to work. And civil society has to come into play in that. Panasudugamba that taxation, how do you tax something that is not produced yet? Let's first of all talk about production. Then we can talk about which head to tax. Next slide. So, progress. Charging and Dijan so far, 5 years on. I would say 4 and 8 months, years on. So we've noted that 40% of the projects that we had initiated have started. Now, what does that mean? What it means is, document 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Get the MIP1 document, NPC, okay, www.npc.mw. Get it, mupeza kuti chaka chili chonse kulima projects amenafunika zitani kodi azichitika. Each sector, each ministry under each pillar and enabler has got projects that have to be done. So this is another area that you can jump into. Taking MIP1, nkuona ma project ako energy nkufusa ku energy kulima project awo alipati kodi. Where are we with these projects? And then they'll be telling you, okay, can we lock up 1 or 2 big development partners or FDIs that can come in to support these kind of projects? Let us be an active civil society. I'm not saying you are not active, but a civil society that is a catalyst. Catalyst is the word. You bank so into Zealand good. Ziende. So we engage, and we cannot be a catalyst until we know what is happening in the space. So 40% of the projects are made by 2023-24, and they were fairly on track. As we speak, 2025 is a midpoint. Yeah, MIP1 yet. Ndedi kupanga midterm review. We should be able to give you a picture. Rationing, but the question is the rationalization to the productive sectors of the economy? 1. 2, if it is to the productive sectors of the economy, what return on investment are we generating from those productive sectors, which can be held back for scaling in the economy or diversification in the economy? That's the analysis you have to do. So someone can come into college kuchanko nagaza that we have a research project kuyanga energy rationing in this country, and whether it is for progress sectors. And progress, produce branch, how much is coming out of there, and how is that money apportioned in the development space? You are contributing, isn't it? Right. Should I still wait? Okay. Reflection. Am I allowed to take off your jacket? No solution. So, but so far, are we together thus far? What I'm trying to say is, we cannot talk about Malawi 2063 if we don't know it. We cannot talk about Malawi 2063 if we do not associate ourselves with any of the areas that we are what? We are operationalizing. Are we supporting the institutions to make sure that they are optimally delivering what we want? But of course, we are scaling across this. Next slide, please. Oh, by the way, like I said, so you can see 40% in Amina Luntha. Amina complete so far is 4%. And get this, a lot of that is just to do with inability of the environment. Enabling environment. A lot of that is just to do with enabling environment. That's why it's what? 4%. The hardcore stuff that we can point out, and this is 5 years on. Now, am I critiquing myself? No, I'm actually putting this to Malawians. Because if as NPC our job is to steer this and make sure that we are moving in the right direction. We are doing that, but the issue not many of us are in that space. But of course, Malawi has faced a lot of challenges. How long are we going to talk about COVID, guys? Let's be honest. Eh? 5 years on, we're still talking about COVID. No. There must be something now. Tito said, and that something needs to be understood within the Jan. Tito said, yeah? Pandemics wanda kubela betu sana titu. Sitna ndi COVID kwa bela China, Npox, kuna zabela zima cholera zima. These things, dika na counting kuchurch na gati masiko series as many zikazi kutani zikuchitika. So issue don't know whether these things are happening, we must still maintain the what? The course. Right. So you can see 34% are operating what? Slowly. And the question is, why? Is it him who is sitting on it? Nanga sitting with it slow, it? So, Mugabe has a report, it's on our website, report, the actual report. You will see the reasons why this performance is happening like this. Some people, choosy, ngadajina maiki what? Tigaba sa zintu, kuti amenti sainireni, ama kala kungojia ngana. Okay? Sina chule zina. Ndikungonena kuti ena ake mukauza kuti pangani zinthu sakutani kodi sakupanga. Now the question, you've heard the president what he has said on these recent appointments. If you do not deliver, I'm going to what? Kick you out, fire you. But for me I agree with the president, and that is a good thing. Firing is good, but we must also hold them to what? To account. Because if you go at the National Planning Commission Act, particularly with regards to the vision, is liable for what? prosecution. It's just going to sit for now. This is Bangazande. Kati if you have failed on your duty, when we had given you all the support that you needed to have, and you have failed, then you should account for the resources that we pumped on you to do that job. This is me thinking it, and it's not the position of the government. The president has said, I'm going to fire you. So that shows how serious now the business is getting. Because you can't have a third, actually more than a third of the projects towards 2063, towards 2030, going at a slow pace. 13% not even started. So where are we? And the civil society, all it's talking about is kulibe fuel, kulibe fertilizer, kulibe sago. There's a lot. There's a lot that we should be talking about. I'm not blaming you guys. Get me right. Next time, invite me. I'll come again. Next slide, my day. So, what we have noted is that generally, on our first milestone, graduation to become a lower middle income economy, it is what? Slow. We are sluggish on it. As of 2024, our GDP per capita was 631. Now we are talking about what GDP per capita by 2030? 1,036. How many years are to go now? 4, right? 4, right? Should we walk or should we run? Should we run or we should sprint? Should we sprint or we should fly? So the question is, what goes into the sprint? It is effective governance systems and institutions, the private sector that is dynamic enough for Samango we should think about innovative ways of making money and increasing the circulation of money in the economy. Now that there's free education, we have to talk about how do we make chance of this free education to build the country's optimal and competitive human capital by 2030. Those are the questions. It's not a matter of just talking about schools okay, but what are you doing? And it's not his job only, it's everyone's job. Okay, fine. But what about winner? By the way, private so it requires money and it is about the economy. So we can't do that. Actually, there should become a time, Limban. Public what? Public schools. It's not easy to get your kid into a public school. Very tough. Because the standards are just what? High. Next slide, please. So, yeah, that's what I've talked about. Move on. So, in terms of sustainable development goals, in the progress reported, them was on as that's what it means. In terms of no poverty, you know the statistics. Present on the status of progress. So I'm presenting the status. Yeah. You wanted status, and that's part of our role. Our role is an oversight function. And that's why National Planning Commission is a stand-alone government organization, so that we have that liberty to speak on things that are not going right, and also speak more on things that are going what? Right. But government in its wisdom, by the way, it was the DPP government that created this institution. I don't know what was going in their mind, to be honest. The powers that were vested in these institutions are just immense powers, because we have to provide a true picture of where Malawi is going. So the true picture is this: as at 2023-24, Magoya now got good health and well-being. We were fairly okay in 2022-23, but 24-25, you have seen how the health crisis has been affected by the pulling out of USAID funding. Oh, by the way, if you never believe that we are in a war zone, there are two places I will invite you to visit. The first one is Guchipata, even a local hospital or clinic, Mugakumudwa. And that's why we should have a picture ministers una kunjako. I've got some few relations amene ali kuchipatala. You go there, you are actually struggling to find space poika chani kodi mwendo. Kuti ukamfikire patient wako, it's like we are in a war zone. And yet anthu ake amene tikupanga zokuti zinthu zisinthe ni ndani kodi? Tife tom. Ma project anu just not helping the development of the country. Zijamukupanga zija. Simani na chonje. That's where we sit. And then go to the prison. Mukaonaso kuti koma ya kunoko at whatever cost we need to do something about it. The real Malawi is the health and the social services, particularly social services ake ndikuthandiza maphunziro, yes, koma chimene chikukhudza umoyo, that's the real Malawi, and that's where we sit. So guys, when we are lamenting about these other things, no, we're in a real crisis in terms of health, and that's why domestic financing is very key. Rationalizing and repurposing of resources in the space is very, very important. And that's what we should be thinking about. And not only thinking, but doing. Rationalizing and repurposing of resources is very important. Go on about your life on land, we are not doing well. The issue about the reduced inequality, I mean, poverty is a clear symptom of inequality in itself, all right? And that was of 2022, 2023, right? Decent work, oh my word, do I have to go into that? Mukaona anthu mena kugwirira ntchito mu warehouse, you'll be shocked in this heat mena kuonekera anthu. Those are issues to discuss, those are issues to act on. Tikakhumudwa. So there is a lot that needs to be done. Next slide, my dear. Right, so nkhani yaikulu ndiyo kuti kodi ndalama zikuyenda bwanji. Munandiuza ndipereke chithunzi cha budget allocation. So this chart is just showing you the approved budget and the outruns, both for donor support and domestic financing. What do you see? What story is that giving us? Itakhala banja? Mkazi akuthawa. Okay, mkazi ndiye kuti ndindani itakhala banja pamenepo. Madonna zika pena Malawi. Malawi ndiye mkazi. Koma noti ichose comment imene yoyo. Ndaichose apo sinaikepo. All right. So you can see that we are not doing well. Most of our budget is supported by what? Yeah. Now, what is our vision budget? Kati toseka. So simwane nati mufuna muone chithunzi kuti tikuyenda bwanje ndiye ndi chimenecho. We have not started our journey to self-reliance. Because if you're having up to 40% of your budget being funded by development partners, or maybe over that, then that's terrible. All right? This presentation will be shared. You can make your own analysis out of there. Big stories coming out of here. Okay? You can see with the domestic financing is still what? Below what percentage? As of 2024-25? Below 30%, almost below 20% actually, to be honest. Mwaona mene? Ndana. Nangasama digira ufike pokuti wachoka. Yeah. So we talk about, I'm not saying no to IMF. I think where we are, we still need an intravenous injection. But I hope you understand it. Chifa itakhala kanyula beta akupanga deal ndi normal sempa zikafika apa amazoti nkhani yamba kutani kodi akazangofika takuika mutu ndi kuti apa zinthu zatani kodi. So that's the thing. Kati toseka. So someone has said it's the negotiations, but you know what? These negotiations have to be done in a candid spirit. Remember, IMF is doing its own business, and they are not in the job of rescuing countries, because once the countries are rescued, they have nothing to add. So, what is it that we can do? We need to look at what God gave us. Tili ndi nyanja inachita kuyambira ku north mpaka kuchani kodi nkumakhala ndi njala nkumapempha chimanga mazi amene mulungu anatipasa chikhalire ndiye timapita kukapempherera mvula mazi tili nawo kale kumakapempherera chaniko zambona zenizeni, right? So I do not know. I'm just asking questions as a planner and as an economist. Is this the way we should do it? Right? Ndeti ndi zinthu zonena kuti kunjako anthu alibe koma ife tichani kodi tikakamba zapasi pa nthakapa mkulu jana pita kalekale jana chuma chili muchani kodi ife timangoganiza kuti ndi chani ndi khasu lokha timangoti ndi khasu koma pano tapeza kuti beyond what? Beyond the whole. So what kind of deals are we making? Again, in any manner, sorry magayi mundikhululukire sikunyoza munthu. We cannot export and expect to get more if there is no value added to that. Muchina chili jonse, whether you talk about my minerals, amene tikunena wa rare earth, Malawi ili ndi rare earth amene quality yake yamphamvu chanchani, angobwera adzangonyamula nkumatani kodi kumapita. Ife ati serious ma residues. Now, munzeru ya utsogoleri wa dziko lino, they created the University of Science and what? Technology. That's their job, to help us add what? Value. I remember in 1997, Limban was my college contemporary. 1997, Limban, if you remember, we had 97, 98. No, 99. Tinandi Silver Jubilee kuchanko. Celebration ya Silver Jubilee. Each department was showcasing what they could do. Omukuseka ndino wankulu. Ndikumaoneka kaka mwana kodeti. Ndikuoneka uchepa masomo anu eti. Ndipo funda wanga numene o. Yeah, 1997 nena msana bado. Ndengati ndiri wankulu ndelimbani yonunanga. Right. So point I'm saying is 1997 there was Silver Jubilee commemoration with Chancellor College. 99 rather. So each department was bringing what it would be known for. Ma philosophers amabwera ndi ma theories zao kumakamba chanchani. Aku home economics anabwera ndi makeke, muffins ma guy aku chemistry. My goodness, I've never forgotten this. They produced a sports deodorant out of Nsenjere. Nsenjere mazidziwa. Amwene akunena perfume uyu tampanga kuchokera kuchani kodi? Koma mena manunkirira po. Now I'm asking myself, ndiye matonesa kuti tingosirira? I thought by now we would have had an industry. We're talking about almost 20 years. Where are we Malawians? Pakati panaona kuti okay, tikamapanga maujeni ma agriculture fairs, tourism, kumakhala zinthu zoti zikuonesedwe. The question I ask is, what is the scale part of these kind of things? And that's where we sit as a country. Okay, value addition. God has given us zintu zambiri mbiri koma sidi kuzipanga add value. Our universities, by the way, with due respect, my professor who groomed me, Kutampaso professor, she had done almost a minimum of close to almost 300 publications. 300 ku university kwa kwet. And then she had stayed by university as a senior lecturer, professor, senior whatever that is, for almost 29 years as an Ampaso professor. The question was, what are you professing? Kamani vafuso. Nangasiwe ukupanga profesi china chake. So if you are professing, you are professing something that you can do or you have done, and you are demonstrating to people that this works. So I'm asking questions to say, professor, what are we professing? What is it that we can show Malawi to say, the investment that this country has made in me in the past 20 years, this is my way of paying back. So I'm asking public and private universities to challenge this vision with their innovations. They are government subvented, but up to now, magali moto aboma akupita kucha ku Toyota for say service dio kango josa. Are you telling me mafana ba polisa ngapa ngezwenesa? There's a whole department of engineering. And I remember some time back, we used to do that. Why not? So those are questions, reflective questions that we must engage in. Sorry, guys. Next slide, my dear. So across the pillars and enablers, what's been the funding condition? So from 21, 22, 22, 23, 23, 24, my budget allocation amaenda jonjo. Ndeta nduzeni. Akuja ndrama zambiri in terms of share of the budget. Nindani? Pasaka zonse. Nindani, which pillar, which enabler or pillar is eating a lot or is getting a bigger share? Governance. What is the status of our governance services? So my question is, where is that money going? Guys, are you following this conversation? Right? I mean, it's like Bambwa waguri bila fizi and you are just failing. What do the old man do? So it was really hard for him to see me fail in class. Because his man was hard end. To the extent that the question is, we are having these kind of shares of the budgets. You guys must question, why are we putting so much money in there? Who is influencing such kind of decisions? And what is the return on the investment that you are making in each of these pillars? That's the civil society. That's the civil society. Should we call the Minister of Finance, my uncle, Honorable Manaveka? He knows that is my uncle. I'm just giving respect. So it's you should be able to call the minister and say, Honorable Minister, I mean, look at this. And then when we look at the return to investment, this is what is happening. My indicators are to our governance, they are still nose diving. Why? Where are we? And yet we are talking about 2063 or 2030. That's the conversation we need to have. So you can see governance has been getting a lot of money, but the indicators of the outcome from those kind of investments, you and I know better. Mwandiuza kuti ndizanene kuti status ya implementation ili bwanji. Sizimene mafuna ndendi kukuzana. And I'm not here kuti nene boma likulepera. Is that the story? Because mukanoti boma ninda tifeyoka. That's why we are gathered here. Simakamba za taxation. Who collects tax? Is it you? No. Sibom. Yeah, so we are together in that. If there is poor allocation or in unprioritized allocation and monitoring and accountability of the budgetary resource, each one of us is deeply involved in that. By the way, Aguti, inaction is still what? Timatere. And Aguti, silence speaks louder. So you can choose to stay quiet, but you're still speaking. So this is the case. If you are to grow the economy, which sectors should have been given a lot more support, and making sure that support is going to the targeted return on investment potential very high. Which sectors? Pardon? Industrialization. About industrialization. Oh. Industrialized upper middle income. So that's what is happening. And your job is to say, Chief, budget my interventions are industrialization and augment that budget. That's the business. Right? You go to environment, ndepa jamitengo yose tamaliza kudula, ndepa nutungu yanga na nanu ngati atigwira ufiti. Ntaone mu. Bas, tikumapikira zovala sopano. Okay? Zovala zoso zoti madai yake ndonati as we suck that air, it's affecting our what? Our lungs. Do you know, by the way, do you know I see many projects and many interventions in this. Right? So that's where we sit in terms of budget allocation. Next slide, please. Now, this is for 2025, 2026. Okay? Which pillar has been getting a lot of money? In the current budget session. Till the mid-year, to go budget review very soon. Which pillar or enabler has got more money? Pardon? Human capital? All right? Okay? So it is against the costing of MIP1. Maybe the first question to ask is, costing ya MIP1, ili mablue, right? There is a mismatch between the MIP1 costing and the actual budget what? Allocation. That's a story. Kuda, mesa MIP1 and mesa monodi Bible ndiri. Likuti bilisa ukena ndiri, right? ndiye mukupereka ndalama izi Bible ikuti tiende chonchi ni mukupanga chonchi. That's a story. That's a point of conversation. There has to be strict and unwavering adherence of budgetary shares to the MIP1. Because that's where we want to go as a country. In fact, if you want your manifesto to deliver, in fact, even if you are to bury your manifesto aside and implement MIP1, you are going to win this election freely. Ndakuza nikuti wina wake wachikulile muchipani china chake said it point blank. We should have stuck to MIP1. Unaimvera manager? On radio. Kuti tika napanga zama 2063. Siti kana khavene tili pa. Ndachula muntu. Izozo ndendi zanu. So, fuso langa it. Current budget allocation ikone sarita ikandrama zambiri kwa agriculture. Si choncho? Mwamba nditaya. Mwaziona it? Muchaka chinocho. We have even surpassed the MIP1 costing. Si choncho? Where are we with agriculture today? Are we together in this conversation? Taikandarama zambiri koma tikupe mphaso chani kodi? Izimezi kugwirizana? We are even declaring the state of what? National disaster. Makai, issue I'm trying to say is governance is not only by government. We are all supposed to govern this country together. But if someone remains passive, and I'm not saying passive in the sense of Tanzania, no, engagement, thoughtful engagement. And is into the disease tata. How many of you have read the MIP1 report? MIP1 report, year 2023-24. Him only. So how do you engage government when you don't know? The problem is, in this journey called Malawi 2063, there are so many of us that are just passive passengers in that. And we expect things just to turn around all of a sudden for the good. It will not happen. Because it is waiting for your what? For your hands and legs to push things. So the more you remain outside the knowledge base of these things, the less you can engage effectively. Because if you sit, my honorable Minister Mwanamveka, and you don't talk the language of the reports, the language of the interventions that they have designed and implementing or coordinating, forget about it. And you know how tough those guys are, yeah? They are not people that you can just say this. These are tried and tested colleagues.
Thank you so much, Mike, for recognizing my hand. If it pleases the House, we would clap for him. He has presented so well. And very genuine and very key issues that you have raised, which to me, when I'm coming out of this, I'm informed as a person in media to know what to advocate for. You've mentioned many issues like what we are discussing now on the food shortage and 11 districts that need food subsidy. And then I look at the amount of money that has been put in the agriculture sector. And so then the question mark is, what did that money do? I'll not go back to that. I know Panali fan of Mamega farms Angono, possibly in Aroko, but it's something that touches me. But I hope, as you have put it, we don't bring in another government. How we wish we would have Wamuyaya, that a government comes in and it continues performing very well. I want to ask and propose on the first, is it go in the 2063, so what we want to achieve, the mindset change. I said it yesterday and it is still my passion. I still believe that olo muntu akale mulesi chotani akakala munda for 24 hours, you cannot have the same in 8 hours. And as such, to me, I still believe that if we are to change our economy, a Malawian should, Malawi should be a 24-hour economy rather than an 8-hour economy. I say it pains me and pains me to the core when I'm in the shop or supermarket and I've gotten some things to buy, and then I meet someone and say, abwana, ntawi yako ana basi. Tifuna tiseki. But this is money, really. Others will be begging, abwana, no, how much are you going to take more? You move up, and so many examples I've given you. One of these, when I was at the airport, at Kamuzu International Airport, and got 1 cup of coffee, and then this lady comes, ise pepana bwana, janabwera koyambirira pepani, tapatsira iwo pepani. I went with my hunger, but I also went with my money. And so the country won't grow without that mindset change and strategically looking at places which we can. I'm saying this to you, I said it yesterday, but I'm glad because you're in the planning commission. And my proposal is, why don't we sit down with the business owners, big key places, and we have security is one of the issues that people give for not opening for long hours, and then ask the police to go in these particular places, grant security, talk with the minibus owners or transport owners to provide transport in particular places. As long as people are traveling, these minibuses will be traveling. And to me, in a short time, Malawians will have at least some income that is going to sustain them, and that will be growth. I submit.
Yeah, thank you so much, Doc, for the presentation. I have 2 questions. I think the first one is on the capacity building. I think it is a continuous process, but if you look at outcome, then it is as if we are really not moving. So I just wanted to find out how the Commission is working with the department responsible for recruitment, because what we have seen is that political influence, people are just being, recruited without the procedure because of political affiliations. Is it not that is contributing to be focusing more on that aspect, more focusing on that aspect, because if we recruit competent people in the specific position, definitely they are going to actually perform based on their expertise, but also the area that are supposed to actually give results. So I just wanted to find out how the Commission is interacting with the department responsible for recruitment vis-a-vis the political influence that we have seen, people just being recruited because they are party affiliated to. And secondly, engagement of young people in the implementation of our vision. I know that it is youth-centric by paper, but we have not really come to terms in terms of how practical, in a practical term, is the agenda youth-centric, either through my interventions in the MIP1. So for me, I really have problem to understand that aspect in a practical way. So how do we have any strategy in terms of how young people in different sectors, because now we have seen that a lot of young people, they are becoming innovators, maybe in the agricultural sector, in the mining sector, but I think there is no any proper investment in these upcoming innovators, you know. So I just wanted to find out if there is a clear strategy in terms of supporting
young professionals and innovators to contribute towards the implementation of the agenda.
Yeah, I've read the MIP document, but when I was listening to your analysis, I decided to ask myself, did I read the right one? You've given a very good impression of the document, and probably we'll go back and read again. But my questions, I've got three. The first one is, I just wanted to know what is the role of the private sector and their commitment towards implementation of this important document, milestones. The second one, it's about the issue of mindset change, particularly regarding our economic infrastructure, how we plan. We have engineers in Malawi, qualified ones, but sometimes I wonder if they've traveled and see how other countries are doing. Because if we look at our own infrastructures, sometimes it leaves so much to be desired, and we wonder, do we need some more engineers coming from other countries, or we maintain ours? Do we have a gap? Maybe. The third one is on issue of human development. I'm looking at the graduates that are coming from our science university. Most of them, particularly those that are graduating with medical engineering, you'd see many of them are being recruited as pharmacists in government hospitals. Then I wonder, how do we invest so much and then these graduates have nowhere where they can practice their experience? You've mentioned so much that I admired about the cassava. We can have so many products from cassava. And the peels that we have, so many peels are made from that flour. And we have so much medicine in Malawi that could be transformed into peels. But these young boys and girls are just being pharmacists. A graduate just to be in a pharmacy, providing mankwala basi. It looks like we are underutilizing, at the same time having a very big vision to accomplish within a given period of time.
So thank you so much for the questions and observations. So as I answer, I may not have a magic wand for some of these structural challenges. There are issues that require a lot of engagement. There are issues that require a lot of noise. And I think it boils down to exactly what each one of us are doing as a group. As government, as civil society, what are our levels of engagement? But I'll try to tackle a few. The issue about mindset is very key. I would even ask a question to say, how many of us within this room have taken time to reflect on certain things that they might require some mindset change in their lives? Because you see, the mind doesn't exist as an external entity somewhere. It exists in an individual. But of course, as a country, there are certain things we do together as a country. For example, culture. It's a communal thing, right? business is a communal thing. You don't do business with yourself. So there are all those elements. But the key question is, from a practical perspective, this boils down to reflection. So for example, the issue that you've mentioned about trade. So we are operating on an 8-hour business day. But there's potential for some industries to operate on a 24-hour, or maybe even more than maybe 12-hour. Can we do some kind of analysis first? Because government is also an entity that doesn't just jump into a space which might also put maybe its population or its people at a risk. So if there's some kind of analysis that can be done to help us see which sectors of our economy can be allowed to extend their operational hours. What are the implications in terms of the cost of production? What are the implications in terms of the market returns? And how does that pair out in terms of money circulation in the economy and the investment and ultimately the growth of the economy? So we need studies, first of all, that should give us that kind of a picture. The idea is a brilliant idea. I mean, all of us here might have traveled outside the country, and for sure, we might have seen that shops in other countries, they close as long as maybe 11 or 12 midnight. Others, they go throughout. For Malawi, maybe it's the casinos that are going up to midnight. I'm not so sure whether they go beyond that. Some drinking joints like Bandiro, they can go overnight. But we have not even done some kind of analysis to see how that works out in an economic situation. So, you want to say something? Kamuzu Road is the Jezera. But, yeah, Kamuzu Road and Jezera. But the key issue is we need, first of all, to do an analysis of what kind of maybe business, ventures should be allowed such kind of a thing. And again, once we produce evidence, it's going to be easy to convince those, legislators in parliament, because this has to be a law. And as soon as we put a law, let us also ensure that there is the environment that should support the operationalization of that law. What do I mean by that? You've mentioned about police, security. People close businesses at midnight, at night, because the night is the most dreaded time of the day. Who would want to do business at night when there is no security? So it means we must also look at what kind of security is going to be there. At the same time, you see, sometimes we can cheat ourselves that we have so much out there to offer on a business front. What is our production capacity as we speak? Which products can actually sell overnight? I know food is the first. Food is, what kind of food can be allowed to go for those kind of hours on end in terms of trade? So, point I'm driving at is, it's a point that is taken. I think as civil society, as academics, and that's why I was asking whether we had academics here, but now it's a civil society grouping. But this conversation are not supposed to be closed doors. The issue of tax, at least from where I sit, touches everyone. A producer is affected by tax. A consumer, a planner, everyone. So I would have loved if this conversation was extended even to those people within here. So that things like this that you are talking about, we're talking about proper analysis and studies, then we could task an academia to go and do that kind of a study. And then we begin to segment what kind of value chains can be allowed to go on the market in that kind of propositions. So let's do the basic first, so that when we engage, we are engaging on a point of evidence, which is convincing enough to run an agenda on the ground. The issue about capacity building. And in reference, there's the issue of recruiting beyond meritocracy. Many of the manifestos, they will be championing, political manifestos, they'll be championing meritocracy, right? That people will be recruited and put in positions based on the merit. But merit is something that is subjective, okay? Nepotism could be a merit in some way, right? It's just that there's no problem hiring someone who you are comfortable to work with. But is it at the expense of others that are competent enough to do the same job? By the way, we're talking about equality in the space. All right? So, what is the Commission doing? I would say that, the Commission has also to operate within the confines of what it is allowed to do. So we see something like this as an oversight institution, we raise a flag. But as we raise a flag, there must be evidence. Unfortunately, some of this evidence is also hard to go by. And that's why the civil society is very key to bring about that evidence. I'm not saying there isn't evidence. We've heard about that many people have been getting contracts and whatsoever. But have we gone into the details to find out why those contracts were actually awarded? Because I've always argued to say it's easier to say something, but to substantiate it is also another level. So as we talk about this, it would be better to also hold hands together with the civil society to say, you have observed that there are people that are being hired on contracts and is compromising the capacity outcomes of institutions in government. Can we do a study on this? Because no one can question facts. Yeah? If it's a study, then it's a fact. And you can't play around with the fact. It's a fact. The sun is shining. Who can dispute that now? It's a fact. I'm talking. Who can dispute that? Unless if you're deaf. Right? But even if you're deaf, you see my mouth and my lips are moving about, you know that this guy must be mumbling something. So let us bring the facts on the table. And I'm not saying that it's not factual what you're talking about. It is factual. But we need to bring it in a way that no one can challenge it. So there are institutions of government that can do that. But again, a better placed institution is one that is outside the system. And that's why researchers, academics, civil society should team up together to say, guys, we have heard about something simmering in the civil service, that people are just getting contracts anyhow. Can we do a thorough study? Afrobarometer does that, right? It's a scarce place to go in. I mean, not scarce, but scary place to go in. But Afrobarometer has been releasing results whether someone accepts it or not. And the others have produced their own results to challenge that. And we can attest to whoever was right in that kind of context. Am I right about evidence? We did analysis. And it was difficult to even get to the sectors and other organs of government. Not difficult, but they would be resistant about it. But we had to use our mandate to say, well, this is our mandate. We're supposed to do this. So let us engage and make sure that we try that. As you can see, there are replacements now, yeah? Government is replacing other people and so on and so forth. Again, you can do a thorough analysis about that. We should do that to say, but are these proper people to be placed in these places and the like? As long as you have evidence, you have a platform for engagement and effective engagement in that regard. All right? And I think I've covered the issue of there's the issue of young people. Now, if you go in every policy, there's an affirmative statement to say this policy is going to be youth-centric. Why? Every policy has to align to the Usavide. Okay. Every policy has to align to the vision of the country, isn't it? Political party manifestos are for them to contest. We certified that. So one of the key issues of alignment was to make sure that there's inclusivity. And among the elements of inclusivity was youth inclusivity. Now, every policy that you can look at, they will talk about youth. But like I say, we are good at writing things, isn't it? Now, what is it that the Commission is doing to make sure that we force the aspect of making sure that the youth are in the forefront? So we are coming up with a framework of analyzing inclusivity, looking at various kinds of population groups in the sector. So for example, if a government or a document or a guide that should help us to see how young people are getting involved and taking a lead in some of them. I've given an example of an agriculture sector. The innovations are there, even in the energy sector. Kupanga magetsi, kupanga ma equipment, ijijiji. Mafana kumasti, anyamata kumasta takujipanga ichi. Kumompeza kuti, what they can do is only the software. Kumatima cheap itima chanja we have to import in China. So we should look at our industries to say, are you able to produce some of these things that we can produce locally? Toothpicks should not be imported. Tito said, mafuta ozola. We shouldn't be importing. Sobo jabia. We shouldn't be importing. But again, remember, we are operating in a free economy. So we subscribe to that. But we can also offer protectionist approach. That's why in one of the slides I mentioned that the government has to be delivered to enter into the private sector, and not the private, but the economy, and calm the storm, to protect certain industries and their laws and efforts that are being in place. They are not optimal. But you guys have a job to chase. Domestic resource mobilization strategy. tikuyeneka pano pamazifunsa kunena kuti how many resources have been mobilized domestically. See strategy, Tiger activities, who is operationalizing that? And that's our job together. Role of private sector and commitment. This is a very, very important question, I must be honest. How much is the private sector involved? So if you can see the taxation business that we were talking about today, who is getting taxed? It's the what? It's the private sector, isn't it? So they are integrally involved in the economy. But the question is, have they been given sufficient incentives to augment their productivity? So as a country, as a commission, there is an enabler of private sector dynamism. And there are indicators that we are pursuing to check whether our private sector is even dynamic in that regard. So as a commission, yes, we are doing our job. And as we can say, you can see how many countries are listed on the stock exchange market in this country. Guys, how many companies are listed on the stock exchange market? Pardon? 16, eh? Can 13, yeah, less than 50, less than 20, tingo. Okay. What are the capital volumes? Guys, this is a project in itself. Just looking at stock exchange market, Germany can perform in a week or in a month and be able to see how much money has been moving in the market and see how much money has trickled down on the ground in the economy. That's simple. So point I'm saying is the private sector is there, but it is not sufficiently optimizing. Now, what are the strategies that Malawi 2060 series is talking? If you go to private sector dynamism as an enabler, we are saying we need to augment small and medium enterprises to become large what? Enterprises. And that's why your small businesses have to be supported. The question is, we need to be looking at what kind of incentives are there in the economy, what kind of markets are existing in the economy. And this is not a point of discussion, it's a point of action. But action here, it needs to be questioned. So point in the only naguti, inuwe pamene mulipo, mukuziwapo chani zama private sector involvement in the economy. It's not for government to be answering questions, it's for us to work together in that space. So I'm looking forward at a time where Mike and his team will organize a meeting where tikungoyangana kunena kuti kodi ku private sector kukuchitika chani. Ndalama zimene zikuchokera private sector zili kuti misonkho imene yaperekedwa government indeed, and then we go into government misonkho yapita pati. That's our job. And I'm not throwing the question back to you. It's a job that we have to do together. The issue about human capital development, my medical graduates are good and children, my pharmacists and the like. Okay, so you mentioned a very important point. Boma, to train people. We are not absorbing those people. By the way, Boma, likamapanga build human capital. It is not for it to recruit here. It is the business space to absorb these people. Why Anyamata are jobless is because our private sector is not what? It's not growing. It is not growing. And because the private sector is not growing, our economy is not growing. And if the economy is not growing, labor productivity goes what? Down. So issue is, why are we just training people? The private sector is not growing. South Africa. And big private institutions kunoko zipatala za private zochuka ndizingati. Ni mwayi wathu tu basi. Koma niyo muli ndrama atu inuyo. Muli ndi ndrama, mwapanga invest pa stock exchange market paja. Mwagulaso ma shares. Why not team up and start chipatala? Yes, you start small. Ndrama ima andira pa ndrama, kunoko makwacha ama yambira pa ndrama yanje. One tambara, guys. It starts from one tambara. Mupite ku bank mukapeza kuti akamapanga olo inuyo imusalary yanu. Imangokhala imalekezera pa makwacha. Simafika kumatambala. That's money. It's accounted for. So point I'm saying is, if you also mindset yatu, tisamone ngatu some of these interventions will require big multinational corporations. No. Vuto ndiro kuti sidi kupanga zinthu zili ngati kodi. Remotes. pali mabungwe ngati ndirekeze pomwe muli ni mabungwe ya maskulu anu aja munapangaja si ma secondary school muli ni ma group a WhatsApp right? Some WhatsApp group have even begun investments. What we might do is to direct them to potential areas of investment, one of which ndi imene ya chipatala. Bwanji titasegula pharmaceutical company nkupanga haya tianyamata takubunda tianyamata takumasti nditi anyamata tina timene tikupanga environment health kupapole kaya magaya kunzuzi investing kumapanga panadol yeka just panadol. Can that not happen? It can happen. Koma kuti so tindi mantha we are timid to go into this kind of space, including myself. Okay? So, issue ndionena kuti tikweneka tikhale innovative. Koma so tisakhale amantha. Mabanka kumaitanira ndalama tubwera muzatenge ngongole last week yomwe amaitanira ma civil servants imene kwangobwera boma la nywani. Ali ma civil servants bwera muzatenge ngongole. Fuso ndiona tikodi ngongole zimene zinachani. Zongoja. Ngongole zambiri zimene mapanga munomo ndizongoti tikakulire chani kodi. Luxury stuff. But no one should take ngongole yote akajetse mimba. Chifukwa mimba simutani kodi. Simukhuta. Taja mamawa pano tupisa ukatani kodi. Tupita ukaja. So let us be innovative enough when we are doing this kind of investments. So mukanena unena kuti nchifukwa chani ana ambiri akuphunzira skulu and they are not getting jobs is because we are not investing in our economy. And tikamayang'ana investment tikuyang'ana zinthu zikulu other than what we can manage to do. Fusuro series right now, young girls and boys are just being and yet have a big role. Fusuro series andaliwa kumandala kuza young boys and girls. Pardon? My infrastructure? Or economic infrastructure? Ngati miseu, ICT and the like. Yeah. Do you know what is happening? By the way, I agree with you. You go to places like Ethiopia. Ethiopia now is not growing because of FDI, the diaspora. My Ethiopians apanga export kwambiri labor ijanaka punzira kumene kuja. Some of them are big medical practitioners in my big university hospitals ku US and the like. Ndia kumapanga team up. Nkumapanga my investment. So as a country, tufuna tipange introduce diaspora investment programs. So National Planning Commission together with Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they are already doing diaspora mapping. So that in dramas zimene amakutumizira nizija, apart from amakutumizira drama zoti mugule fertilizer, what if they send money zonati iwo they can invest in their own country? So we have taken steps in that direction so that we should target my investment or even nyamata they can go into. Kuyankhula nkosavuta koma kuchita ndekotani kodi kovuta. But ndikuyankhula ndi inu yokuti next time you should ask us where we sit. Round of question yoyamba ndimene. I don't know whether we're going into another one. Yeah.
Yeah, just two things. Thanks for that eye-opening presentation. I think Joyambirira I wanted to highlight it is related to political will. If we don't implement our vision, one of the main challenges is the lack of political will. Because on says is kufuna leadership. Do we have the political leadership that is going to drive us to implement what we have set up to implement in MIP1 or towards 2063? Zonses just when makamba guti governance, where do we invest and so on, I think it has to be to do with political will. So anyway, we have gotten some right statements from the president saying if you don't perform, you'll be out. Okay, and you extended by saying those who don't perform should be held to account. And it is civil society which has to stand up and ensure that we drive the political will, but also we enhance the accountability, including social accountability, by the way. And I think this is where I think the the National Audit Commission office recently launched the citizen engagement strategy. I think that is an opportunity because the new government would like now to send more money to the local government. A lot of money. We are hearing of 5 billion going to the constituencies. That's a lot of money. Someone has to be accountable for that money if it goes to the constituencies. And the citizens, they have to be armed with information to be able to engage in that. So whatever you have mentioned, our failures to achieve, to take off, even for programs to take off, it is an issue related to political will. We need to challenge the mindset and political will. I think these are two critical elements that we need to address as a country, but also as the civil society. Secondly, I think you challenged us when you were mentioning issues to do with the loans, investment, and so on. I think our education system, the curriculum that we have followed since independence, has betrayed us because we see opportunities, but we are not able to take chances or risks. Because investing is very much related to taking risks, but also having better understanding of what investment is about. What does it mean to buy shares? What does it mean to take loans from the banks amidst the high interest rate that we have? So there is an opportunity. The Malawi Institute of Education has just developed a new curriculum framework, which is moving towards promoting entrepreneurship, critical thinking, ensuring risk management, problem solving. The solutions that we are asking for, maybe this new curriculum will help us to achieve that. But again, if we don't have political will to implement this new curriculum, then I think we'll continue to be beggars or will not be able to move anywhere. The change in mindset amidst free things that we are promoting is also something which we need to look at. We are looking at free education, free medical care, free fertilizer, free whatsoever. This thing was highlighted in MGDS 1, 2, and so on. And we are also promoting the same, okay, right now. Of course, we want to build our capacity, but the element of free may also hinder us from achieving self-reliance. I think this is something that we need to look at and we need to interrogate. Yes, maybe the free things should have a limit or should be tied to some conditions of good performance, of good quality, so that we can achieve more around that. Otherwise, no, thanks for challenging us in your presentation, and I think moving forward, we should be able to take some of the recommendations in our strategy going forward. Thank you.
First of all, thank you very much, Doc. Every time you stand in front to make a presentation, I'm encouraged and reminded that a short man is not a boy. Because your presentations are full of wisdom and just a lot of information. But since we are here talking about oversight, I just wanted to know how much powers do you have as the National Planning Commission? Does it end on just advising, or does it extend somewhere, perhaps maybe taking to task the executive or the responsible people, or maybe Podamadi, the responsibility of the advisee, it just ends on their discretion? They can take up the advice or not, or do you have the power? Because as the doc here was saying, we give people free fertilizer, and then omweaja njala ikawagwira timapasa sochimanga chaulere omwe ajasote kuwapasa ntukula pakhomo like that munatingo tenga ndalama out throwing in a drain. How much powers do you have? And secondly, muna budget yanu pachaka, annual budget, how much is it? Tufuna kufunsa kuti tuone kodi to date, is it worth having NPC muziko mu? If muna kulipa kuti we are spending much, tinakambia nazulo kuti muna we are spending much to collect taxes and then we are using just the same amount in collecting the taxes. Are we not hiring a jet pito kagula nkhwani kunsika? So how much are you spending as the NPC, whether from UNDP, which gives you a large chunk of your funding, of course, which you get that on behalf of Malawians, but how much do you get from UNDP, from government of Malawi, and then we see if it is worth going forward. Thank you very much.
Okay. Actually, my question is also connected to him. You've shown us the misalignment of plans versus budgets. So yes, you've challenged all of us to take government to account, even ourselves, to make sure that we realize our vision. But since we've still trusted you with this plan, I wanted to know, when these things happen, how have you engaged with government to make sure that they are following the plan? Also, if you can just share us examples of where you have successfully engaged government, where you saw that there was deviations from the plans, and now you've engaged them and they are back on track. And if that did not happen, what actions have you taken to make sure that at the end of the day, our duty bearers are holding to the plans that we make in the if they're failing, what
Thanks for that.
Parties. All right. So when parties. All right. So when parties. All right. So when
Kulipia school fees kwa phegato bano. Listen to fees by Airdo Money. Muta kulipia school fees mosavuda kudzera pafoni yanu. Tsadirani ndondomeko zotsatirazi. Choyamba, imbani *211#. Pamenyo yomwe mutapatsidwe, sankhani 8 kuti mulipire fees. Pitirizani posankha 1 yomwe ndi send fees.